was quite an introduction, sir. I thought it was heading in a different direction, which is fine with me. I'll talk about anything.
You see, that gets my guests' adrenaline going at the beginning of the show.
You bet.
No, I want an answer to the question, actually. I had McAfee antivirus, and you know what, John? When you wrote it in the beginning, it was good. It really was good. But I kind of found that it did a lot of strange things after a while. It kind of got, I don't know, like a spider web into the computer. It was everywhere.
Well, it's a very intrusive program these days. It's sort of like the corporation which grew with it. Large corporations tend to move slowly, become bureaucratic, take up space, and do very little. So I think that's what happened to the software. Same thing. But when I first found it, we had 87% of the world marketplace, and it was a very efficient and fairly good program.
It was.
I've had nothing to do with it for over 15 years, so I can't be blamed.
On my guest section of the website tonight, I have posted the McAfee Guide to Uninstalling McAfee Antivirus. And it's for adults only, by the way, folks. So be very careful who you show this to. But it's hilarious, and it demonstrates the kind of suffering that John was going through down in Belize. Right, John?
That's correct. I did that because the mainstream press had such fun, attaching names to me: paranoid and gun-toting, womanizing, drug-taking. So I thought, well, why not? I'll just make fun of all of that and myself at the same time.
Actually, John, that works. People used to call me up and say I was in the CIA. I finally gave up denying it, so I started admitting it.
Well, why not? Why not?
It's easier.
If you wear the labels proudly, they change character. So that's what I did, and it seems to have done fine by me.
Well, it leaves them speechless, which will do. All right. So I do want to ask you about everything that happened. I really did follow your case carefully down in with what was going on in Belize, John. As much as you can tell me about the Belize part of it, tell me.
Well, I moved to Belize 5 years ago. It's almost 6 years now, because it's a very beautiful country. It has one of the most spectacular seacoasts, the second largest barrier reef in the world, and great jungles. I did fine until I moved into the interior, which was very foolish on me. And I did what a lot of Americans do. I think, even subconsciously, if we don't think we're arrogant, I think subconsciously we are. And I thought I understood the culture, but believe me, I did not. Many third world countries are based on principles which are alien to us in America. Rule is by fear. And every other negative aspect of government is prevalent and prominent. So I was there for a short period of time, and the local politician came and asked if I would just give him $2 million for his re-election donation. In return, he would give me a whole bunch of land and all sorts of benefits and who knows what. It did not appeal to me.
It's how third world, John. It's how third world countries work. I just got back. I'm 68 years old as well, by the way, John.
Wow.
So we're the same age, and I just came back from living in the Philippines for several years. I'm a permanent resident there.
Oh, really?
So I do understand, and there the corruption has been the way business is done. As long as you understand that everything has to be greased a little bit, you'll get along fine. But it's a heck of a way to do business.
It's alien to me, and I don't understand the principles of it. To me, it's extortion, and everything is coerced. And if you don't like it, then you pay the piper. They sent 42 armed soldiers onto my property, shot my dog, destroyed about $500,000 worth of property, handcuffed me in the sun for 14 hours, then left. A week later, a representative came back and asked if I had reconsidered. I said no, and immediately went to the international press, yelling corruption and unfair play. I shouldn't have done that either. That began a war that lasted for 7 months between myself and police. And because I had all the international press, they couldn't quite do anything to me. And then my neighbor was killed, and immediately they wanted to question me, along with all of my neighbors. But I knew, because in police you can hold someone on for 60 days for questioning. If you don't like the answers, you can hold them another 60 and another and another. I would just be in jail forever, and that would silence me, which is what they wanted. Instead, I decided not to be questioned, which in America is a right, by the way.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Just say, I want my lawyer, and you're done.
Pardon?
Just say, I want my lawyer, and you're done.
That's right. Say, I want my lawyer. You have the right to remain silent in this country. I did not choose to be questioned. They chose to question me, and I went on the run. So a month and a half later, after hiding for 35 days, I crossed over into Guatemala.
How did you get that done? I mean, usually borders are guarded and so forth.
Well, it was not easy. They, all the army and all the police had my photo. They had checkpoints everywhere. First of all, I chose a rainy day. In Belize, as in much of Central America, if it's raining, police do not get out of their car or out of their office.
Same in the Philippines.
Same thing, right. So I chose a rainy day because I'd been there long enough to know that policemen don't get wet. And I went through 5 checkpoints, and all the police were huddled in their cars and just waving everybody through, including me.
Yeah.
I also had arranged for a double to be arrested in Mexico, which slackened the southern border, and I had that was also in the international press. That McAfee
somebody temporarily, if I got this right, somebody temporarily got arrested in southern Mexico, and so then I would assume all of Belize police went north.
They went north. So when I finally got to the border, there was simply no one there. Even the Coast Guard was gone. So then I rented a fishing boat, and the fishing boat took me the 25 miles to Livingston in Guatemala, and that's how I escaped. But that wasn't the end of my trials. I was with 2 journalists from Vice magazine who posted a photo of me in Guatemala without taking the location data out. And so the next thing I know, I'm arrested in Guatemala, and with the help of a very good lawyer, was returned to America 7 days later.
You faked a heart attack down there, right?
I did. It was a tricky situation. What happened is first of all, the political situation between Guatemala and Belize is very subtly sophisticated.
Sure.
The Guatemalans want a seaport. They don't have one. Belize would like to give them a seaport in exchange for all sorts of support. They were about to sign an accord last year. I showed up a few weeks before it was to be signed. So the Guatemalans did not want me in the country and really wanted me returned to Belize. My lawyer, who was the ex-attorney general for Guatemala, filed an appeal that was turned down. He was going to file another appeal, but we had 3 hours between the time limit set by the judge to release me into the Belizean custody and his filing of his next whatever lawyers do. And 3 hours in which they could return me to Belize. He said, I can't do anything, it's in your hands. I said, I understand. And 10 minutes before noon, I had a heart attack. At 3 o'clock, I felt better. And that was the end.
All right, so now you're back home. I do want to ask this. I know you had a home down there. You probably had a lot of money in the bank. You probably had... Well, I don't know what you had down there, but a lot, I'm sure. When you went to Belize, did you think that you were going to Belize to live, forevermore, or at least?
Actually, I did. I was at the age I thought retiring, settling down, and enjoying life, in a warm, sunny place would be fantastic. So I had all of my assets there. I had houses and condos, and it was foolish. Again, old men sometimes turn foolish, no matter how intelligent they appear to be.
Is all that lost?
Pardon?
Is
all lost.
That...
Everything, of course. I came out with a shirt on my back.
Wow.
But here's something I truly believe. I think that money is fairly easy to make. It's hard to hold on to, but easy to make if you do what you love and you put your full heart and mind into it. So, I'm not remotely concerned about my future, and I've given up any hope of collecting anything back from Belize, and just continuing my life.
There is no possibility Belize can come and get you somehow, right?
Well, I mean, not legally, of course. again, I'm not charged with anything. In America, I'm a good tax-paying citizen. In fact, I paid way more taxes than most people, I'm afraid.
You did.
And there's no reason for America to do anything. Police is not going to charge me with anything. They have no evidence. And the police continue to say, we have no evidence linking McAfee to the murder. We merely want to question him.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have any idea? I'm sorry. Do you have any idea who killed your neighbor, John?
I really don't. By the way, the assaults on rich foreigners in Belize is not an uncommon thing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It happens all the time. I have no idea. He lived alone, and he was very wealthy. He had no security guards, which if it had been me, I would have had. So it could have been anything, a robbery, who knows.
Okay. But I guess your attitude at that point was, look, they want me. They've already come after me. Any excuse at all to get me is what they will use. And so when you found out they wanted to question you, it was, hey, I'm out of here or I'm toast, kind of, right?
That was it. And I truly believe that. I believe that to this day, that I would definitely have been toast. Not toast. They would have put me in a prison and renewed the questioning order, indefinitely.
Again and again. All right.
Again and again.
Since you're in this business, it is really important, I feel, that I ask you about the NSA snooping that's been revealed.
Yes.
So, you don't have a radio on in the background, do you, John?
That's right.
Something. Okay. I'm hearing some sort of echo. That's weird. Anyway, NSA listens to virtually everything, emails, phone calls, I guess everything, and it seems like such a Fourth Amendment direct violation to me that I thought I would get you to comment on it yourself. How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, Art, it's not just the NSA. Keep in mind there's 17 covert agencies within the U.S. government. There's the NSA, the CIA, the FBI. There are the various Army intelligence operations. And believe me, if one is spying on us, do you think the others are not? Of course they are. And so the issue goes way beyond just one agency that seems to be a rogue agency, because they're no more rogue than any other. They have the technology, so does the CIA. They have the need, they think, so does the CIA and others. So I believe it's more widespread than we know. We know about the NSA because of Edward Snowden. We need a like person in all the other agencies, and I think the truth will come to light. So the problem is magnitude. It is magnified by the number of agencies that I believe are snooping on us. Number two,
let me ask about Snowden before it gets away from me.
Yes.
The obvious, always asked question: hero or traitor, or something in between. I mean, if he had done what he did and then just turned himself in and said, "Okay, here, cuff me," would have been one thing. But then off to communist China, off to Russia.
Well, here's the issue. I don't think he went to communist China. He went to Hong Kong, which, well, that's true. It is communist China now.
It really is, yes.
Yes, you're right. So, but here's the issue. He did us all a favor, did he not? The general public. Let's separate government from citizen. Didn't he? He told us something that we needed to know, right?
Right.
And from that standpoint, he was a hero. Now, having done that, what would you have him do? I mean, the government would, of course, want him to turn himself in. But as someone who's done me a favor, I just wish him well. It's hard to say. For the law enforcement agency, well, he's a criminal. But he did a heroic thing. And
I'm guessing he would have been questioned for many cycles of 20 hours.
I'm sure he would have been. And it may not have been pleasant. And in spite of all of the Geneva Conventions that the U.S. has signed, I do not believe that torture is absent within our government. So, in any case, I wish him well. It was a mistake going to Russia, however. I would not have done that.
Right. Okay. Let's see where to go with you now. There's so much. Well, you're working on something that if it works and if you're allowed to market it, would thwart agencies like the NSA and, as you mentioned, perhaps many others from spying on us. How far along are you?
Well, we're pretty far along with the design. You mentioned something about will the U.S. allow me to make it? That's a very, very deep question right now. Keep in mind that there are many rationales that the government uses for stopping progress. One is, well, it could be used for ill will. It could be used by criminals. It could be used for negative purposes. But that's true. Because if it's that secret, then criminals could use it to pass criminal information. However, people use a telephone for the same thing. We don't get rid of telephones.
Right.
It's questionable, but the world is large. If I can't sell it here, I'll sell it there. So.
I think you'll be able to sell it everywhere, black market or otherwise. It'll get out there.
Right. But I think it's needed. I mean, it annoys me to think that everything that I do, everywhere that I go, even in the privacy of my home, perhaps, that someone could be watching me. I mean, that simply is not a pleasant situation for the American citizen to be in, and we're all in that situation.
Well, we are. And in fact, is it not possible, John, to remotely turn on cameras, perhaps in computers, perhaps in telephones, or whatever? In other words, are our gadgets possibly our enemies?
Well, of course. In fact, it's very trivial. And anyone can buy keystroke logging software, which is software that if you could surreptitiously put it on someone's computer, it will then quietly monitor every keystroke that the user puts in. You can also have the camera turned on or the microphone, and then you give it an address, and it will send all that information to you. You can buy that off the shelf. People are not aware of how easy it is to spy. So if we can buy it, then you know the NSA, the CIA have techniques of putting it into our systems without even coming into our home or coming in contact with us. So yes, and that's a very scary thing. I don't leave my laptop open. For example, I close it when I'm not using it. But many people will leave the laptop open all the time. Here's another thing, Art. If you use, for example, the Bank of America banking application,
right?
When you agree to terms, you need to read the terms, because one of the terms is the bank says we will use your camera and your telephone services, and you're giving us permission. We do not have to tell you when we're doing it from now on. Now, I understand why. For the Bank of America, let's assume you're doing online banking, and you empty your account, and then you say, oh, it wasn't me, someone stole my phone. They can say, well, look, it looks like you're here, we have a picture of you.
They really can do that, and they are doing that?
They are doing it. So check it out. Download the app and check it out. On the Android phone, on every Android phone, the Bank of America app, it specifically, no one reads the terms and conditions. No one. But if you dig into it, it'll say, you give us the right to use your camera at any time we choose, and to use your phone services, meaning they can call in and out anytime we choose, because they have to send the picture to themselves, right?
So if you're in bed with some girl, if you're in bed with some girl that you want to impress, and you say, honey, look at this, look at the kind of money I've got socked away in the bank, click.
Right. The bank is for sure going, if you're moving money around, it's for sure going to take a photograph. Yeah, you're not going to know it.
Wonderful. You know,
and
the first response of everybody,
we do not have to tell you when we're doing it.
Oh God. And you know, everybody's first response is, look, I'm not doing anything wrong. If the NSA wants to read my boring crap, well, have at it. Or for that matter, my picture of the Bank of America is welcome to it. But that's not really a good response, is it?
Well, no, of course not. It's not that we have things to hide. It's that we still need privacy. You don't want people sitting in your bedroom while you're making love to your wife or your spouse.
No.
You don't want people watching when you're giving very heartfelt advice to one of your children about some deep issue in life. I mean,
right.
Good Lord, we have to have privacy, and it doesn't matter if we have nothing to hide. Believe me, the people who say that, they're lying to themselves. Everybody has something to hide. They really do. Not because it's illegal or bad, but because it just shouldn't be shared with the world. So I'm sorry, I have to disagree with that.
Right. Okay. You had something to hide. Now, you're not hiding it any longer. I guess when you were younger, you were writing software like crazy and dealing drugs, right?
Yes, I was. And I'm not hiding that, by the way.
No, that's right. You're not. That's what I'm saying. You're not hiding it. I'm aware of it, so obviously you're not hiding it.
No, sir.
How did you make that work? In other words, well I'll stop right there. How do you make it work?
I developed, I think, an extraordinarily high tolerance to drugs and alcohol. I'm Irish and come from a family of drinkers, and drugs were easy to add on to that for myself. It was the age of drugs when I was growing up. I just managed it. I always managed to pull off the jobs. I always managed to actually get ahead and get promoted, and up to the point that it all collapsed. And it took many years for that to happen. When it collapsed, I lost everything: my wife, my friends, my job, my self-respect. It's called hitting bottom. And
so, in other words, you've hit bottom a few times now.
Well, I think only once, and that was with the drugs and alcohol back in.
Well, what about Belize? That would have to be a bottom.
I don't think that was hitting bottom. I was perfectly confident and in my right body and mind the whole time. I basically lost everything. I had a clash with a world government and came out alive. So, I don't think all that hitting bottom. I think that's success on some measure.
Okay, well, you're right. What I meant to say is that you've lost you said you lost your life and so forth and so on. And I guess you hit bottom with drugs, but you did lose everything in Belize. My goodness, absolutely. House and money.
But I did not lose my self-respect or my will or anything else. I'm still working and smiling and doing as I always did. You're right. I lost money and property.
It sounds like you're doing what you love, and that's really what counts.
I think everybody should. If you do what you love, you will succeed, no matter how that's defined. If you don't do what you love, you're just going to be miserable.
All right. Right now, we are probably at risk, John. We have power grids across America. We have things run by computers. Even our stoplights are run by computer. Everything is. There have been movies made about this recently. Terrorists getting control of things here in America and causing a mini Armageddon of sorts. Is that possible in your estimation?
Well, absolutely. Keep in mind we're in the age of communication. You don't even have to be present. You can be sitting in Iran. Oh, by the way, the first computer virus was called the Pakistani Plague because it was created by two brothers in Pakistan, a town called Lahore. But in any case, you can be situated anywhere. If you have access to the internet, you can hack into anything that you like. If you know how to hack in, then you have the correct techniques and the correct software. So yes, everything, the power grid you mentioned, thousands of computers run the power grid. I'm not sure what the security measures are, but believe me, no matter how tight your security is, there is still the human factor. There's always the chance of a man meeting the right woman who happens to be an agent and falls in love and trusts her, and the next thing you know, she has his passwords and the power grid is down. Or you could just leave a telephone or anything that was something interesting on it, and they, as soon as they pick it up and dial, it's calling home, and you're in again. It's so easy using the human element to hack into systems. Hackers no longer use sophisticated software techniques. It's always the human element. So everything is vulnerable because human beings are not perfect creatures. We all have greed and lust and envy and all the things that allow us to be manipulated by others.
Speaking of things that aren't working quite right and hacking, we come to the healthcare website for the president. And Just in the last day or so, John, there have been reports of hackers getting information from the new healthcare website.
Well, I predicted that, and it's very easy to do. As I said, there are no checks and balances to ensure that a website is a legitimate agent or examiner website. So I could set one up, give it a fancy name, and again offer cut rates, and people would log on, give their social security numbers, their birth date, all the information a person needs to empty their bank accounts. And it's going to happen more and more often. Keep in mind, very few people have signed up yet for Obamacare. So imagine if millions had done so.
That's right.
The cost to the consumers in identity theft is going to be many, many times the savings of Obamacare or the cost of implementing that system.
How hard, in your estimation, is this going to be to fix, John?
Well, it depends on what you mean fix. A person could make it run in a couple of months, but that's not fixed. It will be so full of holes that the security will be even worse. The architecture is simply not sound. The basic structure of the software is not sound. It needs to be thrown out and start over. But the administration said by the end of November we'll have it up and running. Well, sure, that would be easy to do if you have a system that doesn't crash and allows you to log on. However, it's going to be so easy to hack that a child could do it.
It sounds as though you should be employed by the administration. I suppose that's probably not going to happen now, but sounds like you could fix it up.
Well, possibly. It's not a job I would take, though. It would be nightmarish. The political problems, the time schedules, it's simply not something I would like to do.
You mentioned the architecture. It's my understanding the site downloads a very great deal of information to you, which is a bulky, difficult thing to do, particularly with a lot of people's Wi-Fi connections or whatever. It just doesn't work very well.
No, it's absurd. It's like trying to force the ocean to empty itself through a 1-inch drain pipe. It just simply can't happen. And it didn't have to be that way. They did that so that the processing, in other words, you needed fewer computers on the government server side to do the work because they're using your computer to do work. But that's a tiny savings compared to the tremendous loss that you get by having all the data transfer. It's actually called a denial of service attack when a system is flooded with so many requests that it cannot respond, and it's doing it to itself. It's very bizarre.
By the way, is it being helped? Do you know offhand? In other words, is there an external denial of service attack going on in concert with the poor coding that has happened that's causing this?
To my knowledge, no. I mean, the only people who would do that are groups like Anonymous, the Anonymous Hackers Group, and they always announce the fact. So I don't think so. They don't need to because it's thrashing itself. I've never seen anything quite like it. From a programming standpoint and an intellectual standpoint, it's quite fascinating, but it's not workable.
Well, we certainly live in a new day and age now. I marvel at it all the time. And I wonder if it's a good day and age. In other words, we are so consumed by our computers, I've got a iPhone 5 on my side, and you can spend an awful lot of time in them. It seems to me people are spending so much time with them, John, that there is very little personal, social interaction going on.
Well, there's almost none, Art. If you look at husbands and wives, that when they're eating, they're not looking at each other, they're looking at their cell phones. And even in bars, where there's usually good cheer and laughter and storytelling, I've walked through some that the entire crowd is looking at their cell phones. I mean, you could pick everybody's pocket or walk behind the counter and steal the cash, and no one would even notice. This is not healthy for our society and not healthy for the individual. How to fix this, I do not know. But people will text someone that they could easily talk to.
Even somebody on the other side of the room, it's incredible. It's just
right. It's very strange. So this needs to change, or we will become so isolated that life will become totally different than you and I know it.
Listen, I'm intensely interested in what you are developing to try and thwart those who would look, listen, and otherwise intrude into our lives. How close to being done are you?
Well, we'll have a prototype in about 6 months. A prototype meaning proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
It will be probably a year before we start selling. And it will be a hard sell because the first person to buy one can't use it because there's nobody else who has one. So we need a fairly good peppering of devices in any specific area for it to be useful. But I think that will happen very quickly. And
is this kind of a modern PGP?
Yeah, it's more than just private. It's pretty good privacy is sort of an encryption algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an encryption algorithm and a network which is not defined. It's completely undefined and changes constantly. And so the file transfers, the data transfers cannot be traced. You don't know where a file came from. You don't know who got the file that you put in your public space. If you do send an email to someone, if like you want to send a juicy email to your spouse or your lover, no one can ever read it because no one knows where it came from or where it's going to. It's a very unique system.
You got on the wrong side of the Belize authorities. It seems to me this device is just bound to get you on the wrong side of the authorities here.
Well, not by actually building it. I mean, unless they say you can't build it, and if you do, we're going to put you in jail. I mean, it will pick a lot of people off art. Of course, it's going to tick off the music industry and the movie industry and certainly the covert agencies within the government. But what can they do other than audit me every year?
And they will.
That's unpleasant. I know. I've had that happen. So,
but when you get to our age, John, at some certain point you say, bring it on.
Right. That's my attitude now. Bring it on. It'll make my life interesting in my declining years, at least. So,
yes.
There you have it.
Well, at least here, John, you remember you can say, "I want a lawyer." Right? Hold tight. We'll be right back. We've got one more segment to do. John McAfee is my guest. I'm sure you've seen a lot about John or read about him. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating guy. We'll be right back. My guest? Yeah. Is John McAfee. Really a cool guy. I wish we had more time with him. John, I'm going to ask you a question that you might want to consider really hard as you answer, because I'm not sure of the answer myself. When I was a child, I could have answered this easily. The question is America now, in your estimation, the greatest country in the world or not?
Well, that's sort of putting me on the spot here.
Yes.
It was certainly the greatest country in the world when I was a boy, without a shadow of a doubt.
That's how I feel too.
It was post-war America, and large cars with fins, and everything was possible, and the world was infinite. It has certainly changed. Is it the greatest country in the world? I don't have much to compare against. It is certainly preferable to Belize. But I think we've lost a lot. We've lost our competitive edge. We've lost privacy. What we've gained is fear. We have lost a lot of personal freedoms. We used to be able to get on an airplane and fly wherever we wanted and get off. Now you have to get halfway undressed and stand in line to be scanned.
That's right.
We have the country was founded on the principle: give us your poor, you're disenfranchised. Now it's impossible for someone to get into America if you're from outside the country. It's changed. It's different, and it's not comfortable for me. That's the best answer I can give you.
Well, I guess I can read pretty carefully between those lines. Do you think that it would be a good idea for the American people, when they're young, to, for one reason or another, get the hell out of the country for a while and experience another country before coming home?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we do less of than almost any other developed country is travel. Of course, America is a large, beautiful place, and there's a lot to see here. Grand Canyon, Rocky Mountains, 2 oceans. But really, until we see how other people live in their daily lives, the way their governments are structured, their transportation system, their food, we can't really appreciate or disappreciate our own country. And also, when Americans travel, unlike other countries, we expect everybody to be American and to speak English, right. And to accommodate to our needs. But the world doesn't work that way. The Japanese don't come over here and expect us to speak Japanese. Neither do the Russians or anyone else. They take the good graces to learn the language and try to speak it, no matter how poorly. We don't do that. We have an arrogance which is not deserved.
Do you think we've become soft, John? You're the same age I am, so you can kind of look at it and judge for yourself. I go back to Philippines. That's where I was. Those people can be completely flooded. Their families are waist deep or neck deep in water. And John, when the cameras come around, to show the terrible tragedy, they smile and wave at the camera. They're happy people no matter what.
Because they're still alive. They're still breathing. They understand the value of that. Well, here, in America, if you're online in a chat room and someone types something unpleasant to you, you might complain about it for hours. I mean, that's the difference here. We have had life too good, too plentiful, too cushy for too long, and it can't last forever. And so I think we are unprepared as a society for the real world as it is experienced by other people, like the Philippines, any third world country. The poverty, I've never been to the Philippines, but in Belize and Central America, poverty is endemic. There's not a child below the middle class that has not suffered hunger at some point in their life, even to the point of losing their hair. Very common. That doesn't happen in America. Nobody goes hungry here, really. Even the street people, we throw away food from restaurants that would feed an army. So we've had it too good, and I think a healthy dose of reality is in store for us.
Well, John, we recently got very close to default in this country. They weren't crazy enough to let it happen yet, but it could happen in the future. And I realized that about half the American people get a check every month from the government. And if we did go to default and all those checks were to stop, all the Social Security checks, all the helping you one way or the other checks, the disability checks, the you name it checks, if they all stopped, I wonder how long things would remain civil. What do you think, John?
Well, I don't think it would remain civil for long, and I think the incivility would be extreme. I think that there would be an uprising of the first magnitude. But, here's another thing about default. It's not just the fact that half of us are supporting the other half, and then both of us are supporting the government, which is rapidly becoming the other half. It's the fact that what do we produce anymore that people really want? We used to produce steel. Everything of value in the world was produced in America. Who makes your computer?
Mostly we produce information.
That's it, information. Well, information, you can't eat it, and it won't drive you to the store, and it will not keep the rain off your head, which is what life ultimately boils down to when the shit hits the fan, if you excuse my vernacular. Right, we do produce information, but the real production, the building of goods, the manufacturing of things that we need, it's done elsewhere.
I wonder how Americans are going to take it when they begin seeing the headlines that China's now number one in this and number one in that, and so forth and so on, I think not well.
Well, I tell you what. Did you see the Olympics in China? Did you watch that show?
I did indeed.
Now, the opening ceremony, I mean, can you possibly imagine us trying to pull that off? We just couldn't. It was too magnificent, too perfect. It was so beyond our capability that at that point I go, whoa, we better learn Chinese because these people are up and coming.
That's right. All right. We're very short on time because that's all you gave us. So I'm going to ask this. You've had a really, really interesting life, John. What would you say has been the greatest joy in life for you?
Oh, whoa. That's a trippy one. My greatest joy is in being able to communicate and commune with other people. People like me, people unlike me. The young, the old, the just communing with people. Isn't that what it's all about, really? Can you imagine, what would life be if you were in solitary confinement, no matter how big your confinement was, forever? What value would you have? I mean, I know we all should love ourselves, and I do, but we need people. We need to commune. We need to contact and play and have fun with humanity, our own species. And we're not doing enough of that these days.
What a wonderful interview. Short, but wonderful this has been, John. I really, really want to thank you for coming on the program. And I hope sometime when you're in a nice, relaxed state, you can give us more time because there's a million questions I could ask.
Yeah, I would be happy to, Art. It's just the reason I limited it to an hour is I have so many interviews this week that I don't even have time to sleep. But I would love to do a more extensive interview with you at a later date.
Let's do that. John McAfee, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, wasn't that something? John McAfee is something. He's quite a guy. And I'm sure there will be many diverse opinions out there about Mr. McAfee. But I'm glad I had an opportunity to speak with him. Coming up now, even though I talk about scary things on the show, right? It's that kind of show. We talk about scary stuff. Nothing quite scares me right now as much as Fukushima. I think